Hey guys, it's Lauren here with Laura's Leaves and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to go over something that I find pretty important to do when you're approaching on the winter season, and that is getting your plants ready and prepared for the winter months. Now this might not be important to someone who lives down somewhere like Florida, for example, where they can leave their plants outside or inside and the seasons don't really change. Not too drastically anyhow. Where in the Midwest or somewhere in the northern region, you might have 4 seasons. So you come upon fall and winter and you run out of light. Well, winter is coming, people. So I want to let you know what I do to get my plants ready for winter. Because there are a few steps that you can take to give your plants a better chance of making it throughout the season and still possibly produce you some growth and to help them thrive. Step number 1. If you're someone who keeps some of your plants outdoors for the summer season, you need to get ready to bring them inside. What I would suggest first is go through each plant, and if you have it outdoors and you have a hose available, rinse down the foliage. Rinse down the leaves on every plant that you have that you plan on bringing back in. That way, if there are pests living amongst the leaves, hopefully within just washing them off with the hose, you get rid of them. After that, you should treat your plants. Now, something I like to do is use neem oil. Another thing I like to use is I will just take a regular plant misting bottle and use a little bit of peppermint, a little bit of thieves oil, and sometimes I'll add lavender with just a drop or 2 of dish soap, and I can spray that on my plants and use that as a type of fungicide as well. It's not as harsh to the nose. It smells really good actually, and it's gentle on the plants. So after you wash off the foliage, you treat them with whatever you choose to use, you can now bring them in, and I would suggest keeping them separate from your collection that never went outside or parts of your collection, just in case if there are some type of pests, you don't want to spread it to any other plant. So try to keep them separated the best you can. For someone like me who has plants in almost every room of their home, it's a little hard to keep it completely separated, but I just do my best to make sure none of the leaves are touching with other plants. Another thing you might find with bringing your plants indoors is that they may have attracted some fungus gnats. Especially if you're bringing them in early fall where the soil might not be drying out as quickly, fungus gnats might appear. So you can apply mosquito bits to the top of the soil, or if the plant is in need of a repot, you can go ahead and repot. Some people suggest not repotting in the fall, but I feel as if your plant really needs it, it's fine. Go ahead and repot it. That way you have fresh soil as well, which will combat that fungus gnat issue. But mosquito bits usually work wonders. So apply that, water it through, and you can continue with that as need be. Now on to step 2. Now, if you don't already put plants outdoors, this is actually your step 1, so start here. So if you only have plants indoors and you didn't have to deal with my step 1, go ahead and look through your plants. Go through each and every one of your plants and make sure none of them are suffering from any type of pest. If they are, treat them as so. You can treat them just like how I treated the plants that I brought from outside indoors. Use some neem oil, some fungicide depending on your issues, or you can create your own type of solution, whether it's just using soap and lemon water, hydrogen peroxide, or the oil solution that I created. Check through each one of your plants and make sure it's in good health. Make sure there's no pest. Check it for any type of problems. If they have any type of issues that you know how to fix, go ahead and take care of those as needed. And then lastly, make sure nothing needs a repot. Like I mentioned before, usually it's best to repot in the spring, but sometimes plants just do so well, or maybe you didn't repot that plant in the spring and it needs a repot. It's still early enough in the fall now to do a repot where it's still gonna get a good amount of light throughout the day, and it should settle in just fine before our days really start getting shorter. My silver squill here hasn't been repotted in over a year, so there's barely any soil left in this terracotta pot. So I'm gonna go ahead and repot it because it needs it, and I think it'll be just fine. Step 3, you brought your plants in from outside, you've gone over each plant in your house, making sure it's in good health. If not, you've treated it for whatever issue it might be going through. Next, it's time to evaluate your whole collection, see what you have, and decide where to put it for the upcoming months. Now, why would I want to move all my plants as winter's approaching? Well, I say that because you're bringing a bunch of plants from outside in. Most likely, a handful of those are sun-loving plants. The plants that like the bright indirect light and might not do well in a low light situation. This is your opportunity to go around your house, rearrange some things. If you have, let's say, a peace lily or an aglaonema in a brighter area, maybe put your philodendron there, or your fiddle-leaf fig, or your ficus elastica in that brighter spot, because those are types of plants that like more light. So you could bring those low light loving plants, like your ZZ plants, your aglaonemas, your pothos, and put them somewhere where they get good light, but the light is at a lower level, and you move your sun-loving plants somewhere they can get more sun. Utilize your window ledge if you can. Some plants actually like the cool, need a cold period, like some Senecios like cold periods. Maybe put those on the window ledge since they might get cooler as you get deeper into winter. In the winter months, I always like to put my Hoyas right out in my south-facing window along with my ficuses and my cacti, because that's the room that gets the most light, and those are going to be the plants that benefit the most from it. So back in my den, where it's a really low light area, I keep some of my philodendrons, but I make sure they're closer to the window. My snake plants and my ZZ plants sit further back where they don't get as much light, because they will still be fine without it. So just evaluate what would go good where, what needs the most light, what doesn't need that much light, and evaluate your watering situation. Now, this is time to stop fertilizing, and the further and further we get into winter, the less and less you're gonna have to water each plant. And those ones that do get the most light will probably need a few more waterings than those lower light plants that sit further back from your windows and fill up those dark corners. Number 4. Now, I talked about winter, your days are shorter, there's less light, it seems to get dark at 4:35 p.m. It's dreary and gloomy, so brighten up your house, add some lights. Something I like to do is add just regular old grow bulbs. They look like regular light bulbs, and I'll add them to my lamps or in the ceiling fan, just to give it a little extra oomph. You can also look for grow lights. You can find really cheap, inexpensive grow lights on Amazon. There's a lot of variety, a lot of options ranging from low price to higher price costs, which I've ordered some lights off Amazon. They're not the most expensive thing, and they do their job. Some of them are purple lights, some of them are just the white natural light, whatever you want to call it. And those I like better. The purple lights are not that aesthetically pleasing, but I leave all those lights in a room I don't frequent, so I don't have to see them. They're on, they're doing their thing. It probably looks like I'm running a grow up out of my house, because every morning when I leave for work, the back window's beaming purple. I don't want to know what my neighbors think I'm doing, but it's just my house plants. So I always try to supplement with some grow lights. Now, like I mentioned before, the basic grow bulbs, another thing I've done is just went out and bought light fixtures that I could utilize those basic grow bulbs in, just to maximize my light in my home so I could put more plants in certain spaces. So I will take fixtures, like this is just a little pendant light that I have rigged up here, hangs down the corner of the wall, and it gives off pretty decent light. To these two, you can't really tell. Over here is another example how I'll take a little pendant light and hang it up. And the nice thing is if you do it right, these plants cover the cord all the way down almost. So it hides it. It's slightly more aesthetically pleasing than the clip-on or clamp-on grow lights, and it does its job. It's editing Lauren here. I can't believe I almost made how to overwinter your plants without mentioning humidifiers. Get yourself a humidifier, especially if you live somewhere with winter, because your house will get dry, you're running the heat, and a humidifier will do you a lot of justice. There's many different brands you can go from. There's smaller ones, bigger ones, top fill, bottom fill, but it's a good investment if you have a lot of tropical plants. Try to find different ways to amp up the humidity, whether it's pebble trays, clustering plants, or using a humidifier. Legit can't believe I almost forgot about that. The last step, number 5, is to maintain. Maintain everything you've just done in the last 4 steps. And throughout the winter, you might need to do step 3 again, which is evaluate your plants. Maybe you moved things around and a certain plant isn't doing that well in a certain spot. Switch it around with something else. It's fun to experiment, and that means if you're constantly making sure that you maintained all the work you already did, you always get to redecorate every couple weeks. So I enjoy that. It's like playing in the garden every day, but in your house where it's warm because it's winter out and we have no greenery here in Michigan in the winter. It's just either brown and dirty or pretty and snowy, but it's never a consistent thing. Just cold. So bring that greenery in, keep it maintained, help it keep you warm in the cold months, and keep your plants happy and healthy. If you have any questions, any other questions on how I keep my plants healthy throughout the winter, please leave them in the comments down below. And I hope you guys found this helpful. I know for the first winter, I had a significant amount of houseplants in the winter. It was kind of daunting and overwhelming. So hopefully these tips helped you out and will help you out this coming winter. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.